Man, I really gotta go to therapy. I got a lot of issues to resolve, like my homophobia, repressed homosexuality, racism, bloodlust, mommy and daddy issues. But who would have the best claim to the Roman Empire today, though? All two of you will know that I have a ongoing series called What Happened to Blank's Rulers, where I tell you what happened to them and tell you who the current claimant is. For example, the current claimant of the Italian throne is a Bond villain. I'm not kidding, it's a member of a secret society manipulating Italian politics, who is also a criminal who bragged about killing a man. And this video will be a part of that series. It's going to be a bit different from the template of those videos. I'm not going to explain a lot of the history besides the context needed, and I want to more take a look at how the title of Roman Emperor could have progressed to our modern world. And yes, through the expected laws of inheritance, figure out who could claim it. But in the meantime, I have gotten increasingly curious about this issue. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's stupid, the Romans died out so long ago, like how could we have a claimant nowadays? And you'd be right, the last dynasty to rule the Roman Empire died long ago, the these fucking dudes. But there were relatives of Emperor Constantine around Europe. There are two ways to look at this, at least from my perspective. One, the regal route. We look at the inheritance and other legitimate ways of passing on titles. And two, through the quote-unquote law of conquest. So, let's talk history. The Roman Empire by 395 was split into two, and by 476 the western half was destroyed by those gross barbarians, leaving only the eastern portion. Now, there is literally 1,000 years of history that I am about to ignore, so we can instead fast forward to the fall of Constantinople. The city was under siege by the Ottomans, and the last Roman, or I guess Byzantine emperor, was trapped in the city. He was Constantine Palaiologos. I am obviously mispronouncing that. Whatever. His ultimate fate is unknown, but we do know that he died defending his city. Apparently he threw off his imperial regalia and went to meet the Ottomans head on. Now, here is a fact even you history buffs don't know about, and I certainly didn't just say less than a minute ago. The city fell in the Roman Empire ended after over 1,000 years of history, but many nations claimed the mantle of Rome, like the obvious Germans with the Holy Roman Empire and Russia as the Third Rome. But let's assume, hypothetically, that in a certain way, nations could do this. They could just claim to be something else. And I think what would give them the best claim to do that is legitimately conquest. If you wipe a country off of the map, it's not unheard of for a country to say that, oh, those guys weren't actually illegitimate, or hey, we're the real version of those guys now. That's sort of what the Ottomans did. They said, hey, we're Rome now. Yeah, Mehmed II, he's our Caesar. So basically, it's the law of conquest. You wipe someone out, and you get the claim to be that guy. I know, it's super ethical, and you should go and practice that at your local police department. Following this logic, what nation today has the best claim to the empire then? Well, the Ottoman Empire. As we know, they dominated, won wars, they lost wars, and they eventually lost a really important war, World War I. But they weren't annihilated by the Western powers. They survived long enough for this guy, Mustafa Kemal or Ataturk, to start a civil war and conquer the Ottomans. And as we established through the definitely ethical don't at me bro law of conquest, Turkey inherited basically everything the Ottomans had, including their titles. And no one has destroyed Turkey yet. So every Greek person that's gonna watch this will cry, but Erdogan, he is the true inheritor of Rome. If he wanted to, he could declare the Roman Empire reborn, and he genuinely would have some amount of legitimacy. Yeah, it's not a very good way of looking at things, and not to mention rude. With this law, you could theoretically stab your neighbor with a fork and claim his dog, which, while a logical action to do, unfortunately is a bit illegal. You cannot conquer someone's dog. Well, I did say there was a legal route to look at, so yeah, let's kind of do that. The last emperor of the Romans died in 1453, but his family endured. He had two brothers, Demetrius and Thomas. So traditional laws of succession dictate that the crown would pass to the eldest, Demetrius. And who was this man? Well, he was the despot of Morea, one of the last regions in Greece under Byzantine control. And he, in fact, ruled as an independent despot until 1460, where after a civil war with his brother, classic Romans, the Ottomans came down to slap the Maurya Syria. He conquered Morea, or the Peloponnese, and for the rest of Demetrius' life, he, despite living in good conditions, lived as a prisoner of Mehmed II. He and his daughter died without sons at the age of 27. But what about his brother, Thomas? The man he fought against? Well, while Demetrius never had a son nor his daughter, Thomas did have a son and potentially grandsons. So technically at this point, the claim to Rome has gone from Emperor Constantine to Demetrius to his daughter Helena, and now on to Thomas, her uncle. After a civil war with Demetrius, Thomas fled with his family to Corfu. He soon went to the city of Rome itself to try and petition for a crusade against the Ottomans, so he could take back his home and bring back Byzantium. This never happened, and Thomas died in Rome. But he had two sons, Andreas and Manuel, with Andreas being the elder, who was born sometime after 1476. Andreas lived the life of a frat boy, partying day and night, traveling all over, and of course petitioning to help retake Constantinople, and exhausting the Pope's pension, to the point he got flat for fucking broke and cut off from it. Apparently, he sold his title of Emperor of the Romans to King Charles Valois of France, being promised 360 ducats a month, fuck if I know how much that actually is, lands in Italy, and personal bodyguards. All he had to do was give up the claim to the Byzantine Empire. Charles did want this claim because he was preparing for a crusade of his own against the Ottomans, and such a claim would give him legitimacy to conquer the Ottoman Empire. This crusade, it never came to pass. Charles, instead of going against the Ottomans, got busy fighting in Italy. Classic French. But the deal was finalized. Andreas sold the imperial title, and just like that, we have a claimant. Now, this is a major reach, and technically goes against existing laws of inheritance. Andreas claimed the title back, eventually, as agreement the two made was never accomplished, and Charles died without stepping foot in Ottoman territory. But let's say, hypothetically, he never did that, and extinctive prescription isn't a thing. Go fuck yourself. That means the title of Roman Emperor followed the entire Valois dynasty all the way down to the Bourbon dynasty, to the Bonaparte emperors, and now the Republic. That means that nowadays, this man, this average 5 out of 10 man, Emmanuel Macron, has the right to call himself Caesar. Well, more specifically, the Duke of Anjou, the legitimate claimant to the French throne, as he is the current head of the French Bourbon house. Yeah, there's more than one dynasty claiming France. They're just weird people. But unfortunately, extinctive prescription is a thing. So, this line of the French kings, it's a dead end. We could go with Andreas's younger brother, who was called Manuel, a different Manuel, who may have served in the Ottoman Navy. And this man, he had two sons, only one of whom reached adulthood. Again, called Andreas. It's a different one. This one converted to Islam and took the name of Mehmet Pasha. And Mehmet died without sons, which means that in a truly legitimate and legal path, the Roman Emperor title, while abolished in 1453, could theoretically be claimed. I mean, the Russians did it, the Germans did it, and the Ottomans did it. And currently, there is no one actively claiming it. Open fucking season, boys! Honestly, take your pick. The Duke of Anjou, Turkey, Macron, this title has been around for so long, half of Europe could theoretically claim it. But what I find most fascinating is that technically people could. We attribute these sort of ancient civilizations a almost mythical feel to them. Like, they were around, sure, but they might as well not be, right? What's fascinating is, particularly as a European, so much of this continent was built off of the back of them. My language, parts of our architecture, the culture, and particularly interesting is that several aspects of the Romans do survive to this day. I mean, Emperor of the Romans, that title is a title that, yes, it's abolished, can be claimed. You could wake up tomorrow, go see the news, and find out someone has claimed the Roman Emperor title for themselves. That is legitimately a thing that could happen. Shit, if you map your lineage back to a Roman Emperor, get some supporters, you technically can claim it yourself. What's stopping you?